you very much for joining me. Thank you very much if you are experiencing the shifting of tides and if you trust that the year begins on the 1st of January. I congratulate you on the shift. However, I'm more with the other side of the world. There's lots of countries around the world that celebrate the ending and the beginning of the year at a completely different time. So, for example, the Persian New Year is on the equinox, so is the Balinese New Year, so is the Indian New Year. Some people in India believe also that the year begins on the 21st of March. I stand with those people. So if you're not with me on this, it's okay. I just trust that it's a little bit silly and tired starting the year in Capricorn in a very career-driven sign of Capricorn. But because it is how the world works, and this is what people look up, when they search online for popular demand, I am definitely doing this video I suppose for the greater whole that does believe that the world starts on the 1st of Jan. So, how to understand the coming year. So at first I will be talking from the heart. So in my heart, I don't trust that the year has begun. I believe that we are only at the 10th sign of 12. So in a way, you can see it like this. We are still going through a process, and Capricorn is in no way the starting sign. It is just the 10th sign. It is the most ascended shadow sign before Pisces, and it is one of the most crucial signs for us to maybe know about. So I'll just say a few things. If we are, celebrating Capricorn as the starter, I mean, we are looking at Saturn, a Saturnian life. So if you can imagine a Saturnian life is a very deep, very structural, very forceful life, and very committal life, and it's a very serious one. So if you want to, you can probably dilute some beliefs, if you like, that you have in order to fit this theory in. And I trust it'll help you, as it has helped me through the years as well, that we don't want to work hard anymore, and we shouldn't have a very hard-nosed, very sacrificial and very obsessive life, which Capricorn as the beginning of the year would probably mark for us. So I trust that you know me by now, so probably most of you guys have seen my materials, and I've said many times over and over at this time of the year not to do anything for Christmas and not to plan anything high and mighty for New Year, simply because it's a very contracted or a contractive energy, Capricorn, and it's more special for work. So if you can imagine, Capricorn has horns, and also some believe that Capricorn is a sign of the devil as well, and Saturn also is it's like a shamanic sequencer, and it's also considered acronym for Satan. Some people believe. So to understand this further, I mean, I have to do another lecture on this. What is creation? What is creator? What is God? What is Satan? And what is all of this? But I'm just not going to spook anybody out who is a little bit scared of these topics. I'm just going to say that the horns of Capricorn keep on growing and growing and growing if you don't break them in half. So what I mean is we break Capricorn in parts before and after the new year begins, and sometimes what we do is we break up our progress, we break up our stamina. So this is not the time to relax, this is not the time to relate to people. Aquarius is a perfect time to relate to people. Capricorn is not. It's a very selfish time for some, because we have to consider our greater connection, our greater nature, also what we leave behind. We have to understand old age and what matters, what we've structured, what we have the ability to leave behind after we go from this world. So it's a very interesting, like a shadow of death, I suppose, that Capricorn brings about, and a consideration for future of humankind. So to me, it is not an appropriate time to call anything right now. It's not a good time to celebrate anything. But for those of us that are, I'm sorry to be so naggy, I'm just getting the message to deliver this. For those of us that are conscious of this time being a crossover, please consider taking a step slowly and carefully. Capricorn is known for incredible growth and potentiality. Should we just be slow and consider? So yes, at first, I will probably also have to say that nobody really knows why the year has begun on this particular time, on the 1st, but I would probably say it has to do with the Catholic Church and Rome and the ancient Illuminati constructs that were, I suppose, running the world in those parts in those days, and look at how far they've gone and how much they've grown over all of it. So the Illuminati theory aside, I'd like to just state and mention that yes, I'm not a fan of celebrating the year on the 1st of Jan. So if you don't believe me, that's fine. Please look up other esoteric teachers, other pagan beliefs, other cultures, other places in the world that have considered differently. So yes. Also, please stay safe with this information, because at the moment it's not really by the sky a good time to go into conspiracy theories, but here we are. Okay, so the year 2021, you don't have to do all of that stuff, and this is why sometimes it's very hard for people not to do it, because Capricorn really plugs us in. We believe that everything be all end all starts and finishes in Capricorn, so we have to commit. So sometimes people become very driven and very obsessive over how they come across to other people or what they will come to become in their life, and that's what takes the innocence out of our lives, that predisposition to plan and control and harbor. So I'm kind of feeling for many of you this is going to be a very hard time, since we are going into an ox year by the Chinese zodiac. So the ox year is more about us giving in a way, and becoming a greater structure for the greater whole. So it's a very, very discerning time. I mean, some people equate the ox to Capricorn as well. So it's a very Capricornian energy to some. There is a translation of the Chinese and the Western zodiac together, like what correlates to what. So some people do trust that the ox represents Capricorn. So we are sometimes very much in the heart but not in the mind about what we are giving, and we have to really do well and do properly. I mean, this is one of those times where you can build a business out of nothing. This is one of those incredible times where your natural potential, your natural talents are seen and heard and finally found usable or interesting for society. Also, you can become more mainstream or more sort of like classed in a new system as an individual. But here I am talking Capricornian terms, and also we're not really truly at the end of the year, so it's kind of weird talking about this now, as the energy is very constructive and very very Capricornian here. So yes, we have got to make sure that we are balancing our lives before we approach any business idea or venture, before we plug into any story. It's a very, very interesting time to plug in, so it's not like you just show up and you do your do. It's like you get plugged in. It's very easy to be subservient during this year as well. It's very easy to put your head down and do the job. And also if COVID or quarantine or anything like that has debilitated your previous income, it is very, very easy to walk into something or somebody you don't want to be part of. So it's very, very easy time to become a slave or a servant to something or somebody else that you don't want to be a part of. So Rat Year was a very handy time. It has come in handy for people that have designed to rediscover, to relook at things, repackage and learn. So people that have become very internet savvy, people that have become very job savvy, very knowledgeable, would have found it a very, very easy time to spruce up and cultivate a new beginning. So I also have to say that Rat is the first sign in the Chinese sequence. So it was the first beginning and the fresh new adventure that I believe some of us have undertaken. And those of us that haven't really yet made that push, haven't had that trust and haven't had the curiosity, might experience itchiness and scratchiness during an ox year. So what I'm saying is that in 2020, we really had to pull ourselves out of that box. And by 2021, we have to really realize what that has given us, what we have learned, who we have met, what we have discovered, what we have newly understood? What kinds of new states of abundance do we have in our lives? What kind of people do we have in our story? What is new? Like, what's up? What's up, after the rat year? And that hullabaloo, or that whirlwind of change that was provided to us, will now have to settle down into the most common and basic things. So that is the irony of Ox. Now, this is not going to take place till about February 2021. So we won't fully feel that embedding of energy until then. But for now, as we're at the beginning of the year, I would, numerical year, I would trust it would be such a good time to relate to what you have found, and consider also plucking out some weeds, any kind of behaviors or addictions or patterns that you have found, that you had, or that you have found again or anew, anything that you have harbored that you don't really want to work with, because Ox will sift out all of that which you have in your life, every detail, anything that you're about, anything that you hope for, anything that you're doing, anything that you're part of, and it will embed one or two strands that will probably stay there for a lifetime. So I have to say, if you have an addiction, if you have like a problem, if you have some kind of a program that you found in rat and it was so tasty and delicious, because there was an aspect to a rat year, there's always an aspect to a rat year that has to do with seduction and learning of lessons the hard way. It's like, I can't harbor that, I can't take on that person, wait a minute, I can't be part of this. Because it is destructive, or it is non-connective, it's non-contributive. Sorry. So Oxia is also about contribution and having a higher mind or higher purpose for that which you're doing. And it also is about multiplying those strands or those worths that you end up with in rat. So if at the end of rat you have decided to spend time at home, not go anywhere, watch Netflix and smoke weed, there's going to be a predominant. So you see, like the universe is blind. It's not just going to increase your greatest potential. It's whatever you have decided to keep around and stay with by the end of rat. It's probably going to strengthen and multiply and also make it believable. So for example, the stoner identity, the Netflix guru identity, the internet obsessor identity, all of these different identities, the Star Wars action figure collector identity, all of these, are going to still become these main givens. So this is the thing, Ox is going to help you embed something and make it real. But I'm just thinking, what did we choose to stick around with? Like, who did we choose in our lives? Sorry about the noise outside. What did we really become or succumb to by the end of rat? And what is now embeddable? So for instance, if you have a very, very skeptical nature and you just enjoy things that other people are doing, sometimes people can consume and walk the same way as others because of skepticism and an inability to feel themselves, and if you say, to hell with all of this, all I want to do is just, watch Netflix, go to the mall, buy myself some nice things, I'm saving up for a car or something like that. I just want to go out, I always go to the same bar or whatever. That's not going to change, so the discovery of rat, doesn't have to be a futile one. And I hope that at the end, near or far, wherever you are, I believe that your heart will go on, near or far, whether or not you are or you are not still searching, okay, as we are at the end, the tail end of rat that's already starting to blur into ox, even if you are still finding, please consider the trigger, that makes you believe certain things. Please consider what makes something very epic or somebody very epic to you right now. Please count your steps wisely, and also consider, as we swing into ox, as we really go into February, please understand, do you need to bring this up? Do you need to grow this? Is this what you want growing in your garden of life? Okay. And I know that for some people this is a very harsh beginning. Some people, they cannot let go of the remote control. They cannot let go of marijuana, or endless seeking online or wishing to look at stuff that is not up to them, gossip, TV, radio. Some people really cannot let go of these medias because they provide a stimulus that Rat perhaps didn't experience. So yeah, for example, if you have also set it out during Rat 2020 and you didn't really leave the house that much, and you just basically surfaced a whole lot of things online, that's not going to change. Okay, so there's going to be maybe even, I would say, demographic of absolute passivity coming out of 2020 because of these interesting ways that we find beauty and pleasure in self-medication, self-medication through horoscopes, zodiacs, finding cool things, celebrity gossip and everything like that. But if you did actually find something or somebody, cherish it. So by the end of Jan, for some of you, okay, there's going to be a very epic start. And I trust that if you did actually walk out of your shell, or if you let God find you, if you let nature, if you have let nature find you during 2020, if you have allowed serendipity, if you allowed an off-focus kind of life, which just created, humbly as it went, if you have let the whirlwind of Rat show you more, and if you have also seen the demise of your previous structure and system, or you have walked out of the previous home or previous job or the previous family line, and if you really did want to ascend through into the new earth, which is what people believe is happening after the 21st of December 2020, I do trust that if you had your whole heart in your hands and you just said, look, I just want a different way now, I just want to give myself to the bigger part of life, or I just want to know what else is out there, like how else can we live, or how else can I do, you will be surprised. So by the end of Jan, a lot of us might have assets. So somebody's found the perfect partner, very easy. Also, as Jupiter's going into Aquarius, very easy to find a very comfortable social plane. Very, very easy now, by Jan, to see if you really fit into a group or a demographic. If your natural talents and learnings, especially something that you were susceptible to as a child or used to do as a kid, is now placed, and has a sort of a set of skills attached to it, or has a dominance within it, so if you have come out with a great, more dominant mind, or like a greater picture of who you are based on yourself, finding out more and more about you and the greater world and Rat, you'll be surprised. Some of this is probably as good as it gets. I trust that anything that has really come to the surface now could be almost like the culmination or the climax of whatever it is that you are ready to be. And also within these powers, or these potentially comforting small seeds, is like a giant potential yet. So the way that I'm seeing it is we have to understand what is the gift, what is the gold, what is the gold before the golden ox year begins. And we also have to understand what we have found within ourselves as characters, and what we have found within one another and greater society and the global picture, the global system that can now feed us and give us all. And yes, we're talking completely new, out of the ground businesses, philosophies, families, homes, communities, eternities that Ox will perfect and make glow probably for the rest of your life. So yeah, some of this stuff is very, 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 very big. And if we just surfed online, or we just didn't really care, and we spent all our money or spent all our energy or our power, that also really stands out as well. So if you are here, and I'm speaking to you directly, if you are a constant consumer, and consuming has been the greatest part of Rat, please understand that even within that, even if that's what you've done, there are going to be seeds. Please make them real and whole. Go for the whole. The wholeness is not just an ideology, although we are beginning, you see, 1st of Jan begins with Mercury-Sun conjunction. So it's very easy to just disappear into the ether and think about stuff. You know, just think it through. But at the same time, you know, like, I understand some people are now also from COVID and quarantine choosing their minds as the safest homes, or the seeds being just their ideologies, you know, or the ways that they do not trust the world. I trust this is more than this, you guys. You know, I don't mind, as, you know, philosophical and as ascended or evolved as you might be. Please consider the real, you know. And I come back to this again and again, and I see a lot of people walk out of themselves for, you know, movies, for philosophies, for ideologies and things like that. But the thing is, I believe that if you like who you are and you want to escape the matrix, okay, and escape the previous stories, and you'd like to just have this more beautiful, even romantic, you know, pure, trembling, mind-boggling life, if you are ready for that reveal, you know, I suggest definitely try walk out of ideology, you know, the romance with ideology, the romance with religion, the romance with information alone, and try to see what's real. You know, from what's in your fridge to how you feel like you should live to what you believe you can achieve. So this is when people can find a home, people can find a country, people can find a community, people can see now, you know, who we are, each one of us. And we can now be planting very well. You know, we can plant very good seeds. Also, Ox is going to take us further into mainstreams, okay? Community, you know, how we live on this earth, you know, what we eat, what winds we follow, what timelines we have. And yes, ideology can be part of it, but please understand this is all about frequency now. This is not about what you think, what you regurgitate, what you remember. So we have to leave the mind alone. And I also have a feeling that we've got to really trust that gut instinct, or the feeling of the divine within all things, in order to follow through in new ways and embark on new roads and help this species become a different type of species also. And that means that beside the world of information and concepts and money and time and all of that stuff, there is something else. You know, there is the human whole, the whole, okay? The wholeness, right, within ourselves and each other. And I trust that we have to now embark on the roads that keep us away or out of any kind of confusing matrix realities that are not really to do with the human heart, and not to do with that state of eureka that sometimes happens through just life alone. It is not humble, it is not quiet, it is not safe in a way, and it is not entire. It is just world of money and commercialism, which sometimes a new year aims to start off. Look, aim here, go there, be that, be this. And I think also for those of us who are experiencing turmoil at the moment, for those of us that don't really want to go how we've been going, and we find some of what we've been part of confusing, as Jupiter and Saturn conjunction at the end of 2020 would have activated within a lot of us. I trust that we now have got to end things with matter and reality the way that we've known it. So that's where, you know, we no longer count our money anymore, and we no longer, you know, want to do those, you know, futile things that the computer grid has wished us to do, wished for us to become like. And the android realities, you know, those subservient realities, mindless, heartless, gutless realities, we've got to let them go. So Ox is going to build you up anyway. If you have a telephone, you know, if you have a phone, mobile phone in your hands all the time, it's going to build that. Nothing personal here, no drama. If you want to walk along and buy as many things as you can, or if you want to purchase something for your life, or if you're looking for that which can be purchased, that's going to start to become obvious too. And if you are wanting to look good to you, you know, if you are creating any changes just to feel good about yourself and not actually maybe feel enough out of it, there's going to also start to be, so that matrix mind, I believe, I trust, with some people will take over, And there's going to be like no wrong in that too, as that's also part of the greater system and the greater grid and the greater gift of life, is to also know those times, you know, when one does as one would because of the mathematical, you know, sequence that is behind current life. And I'm not saying this is the way, but I'd like to say through psychedelics, okay, like through psychedelic use and psychedelic universes, I trust that yes, there is a mathematical part to it all, but it also is a very, very fluid feeling universe. It has a heart, it has a center, it has a sensitivity to it, it's like water. Okay, so in a way there is no matter. And I believe and trust that for a lot of us is going to come to an end, this confusion with numbers, this confusion with gain or loss or needs, you know. And I also trust that many, many people around the world are going to start to no longer look into that direction that guarantees a certainty through the numerical sequence or through the numbers game. So yes, I'm sure you kind of know what I'm talking about, no matter who you are and where you're from. So we are all going to grow out of this need for consistency based on certainty. And then also we have to understand that within this particular year, 2021, we've got really no choice but to evolve, you know. And if you've decided to do that in a kind of a cold way, in a distant way, self-distanced or distance from creator type of way, that's not yours, but I think you will have to live through it in order to understand that it is not. If you're experiencing a fade by the end of Rat, so as we go into February, March, and you feel like everything tastes the same, you know, there is no smell, there is no water, there is no air, there are no people, and you're just going through a certain type of chemical devolution, I trust that you might want to see that. Okay, so if you don't really feel anything by now, or if you're starting to become kind of like a number within your sequence, I would really try and create a little bit of hullabaloo there or shift some things around. But not only, you know, because of the ideology that I'm using here, I suppose, or the energy that I'm going towards here as I'm channeling this. It's not just that, it's actually more about safe places, you know what I mean? The safe places, the human places, the feeling of the heart, the feeling of the soul, the understanding that you're alive, the real true relationship to Creator through the ecstasy of everyday life, like feel yourself, you know what I mean? And those of us that can't anymore, or that feel that something's faded out, or that our battery is run out, or that we are dry, there's got to be a way home. And I think that for a lot of people, they have to go through the whole samsara wheel and understand what is stupidity, like understand what is chasing after money or chasing after people, you know, what is the chase for futile reasons and what is not. And how can one live one's life in the most graceful, in the most gracious, graceful, whole and humble way, and to know that each day of your life is not prostituted away, it is not just given out, it is actually whole. And I'm also thinking that for a lot of you, the time has come to understand and underline, underscore what you've come to learn here and how you are humbly, I suppose, pursuing love or like pursuing light. You know, what are you learning? What are you aiming towards? And where does that love or light come from? You know, is it at McDonald's? You know, is it on Tinder? You know, is it behind the scenes somewhere? Where is that love and light coming from? And I hope that it will show more to you. And then as you base yourself more on that main spectrum of love that you are living for, or that main creation, or that main creative supportive energy that you are actually doing things in the name of or out of, I think that will become within yourself more and more and more robust, and it will become more and more you. So your Tinder account will become more and more who you are, or your love for Allah will become more and more who you are, or your love for a person will become more and more who you are, or a game, you know, whatever you're playing, say, you know, like walking around, you know, touching hearts and walking away, whatever you're doing. However you are, this is a year to master your main support systems. Okay, is it TV? Is it psychology? Is it astrology? Is it love? Is it sex? Is it life? What is your main support system? Who are your main guides? Like, who are your main gurus? What are your main sensitive points? Who are your main people? What are the main representatives of who you are also in the media and the mainstream? What did you want to see there? Like, how did you force or focus yourself into who you are? What did you really want to be? And I'm also thinking in terms of study and mastering a subject, this is one of the best times to really become guru at it, or know that you don't need to do it, or you're not needed there. So that's also another thing that I'd like to say for studying, for universities. Please understand, is this yours or not? And then also by the end of March, as we've come out of red entirely, we have to really, really know what not to do, okay, what not to seed, and how to get more abundance from our garden of life based on what really works for us. Okay, so if you've ever farmed, if you've ever grown any kind of trees or plants, you would know this. There are certain soils, certain terrains for certain species, okay? And there's also hardship with certain species in different terrains. So to grow, for example, grapes in the Andes is not very easy, you know. But say to grow potatoes is masterful, you know. But there's also like something that sometimes people forget is also what is natural and neutral for them to do. Ox will wring you out. So that's another thing. Ox is already starting to do that to me. But I'm feeling that in March, April, ox will wring you out and give you a bad feeling if you don't do what is natural and organic for you. So say, for example, if you're working a job or you're studying something that is completely not organic for your mind or your body or your spectrum of energy, that's going to wring you out. So big time issues with work, with money, with compassion, with capacity for people, a huge, huge global issue. Mishap can happen around April, May, simply because the previous system we cannot afford. That concentration has to go elsewhere. And I also would trust that all of you know what is always effortless for you. Just go there, you know. For example, you might get a lot of support from people naturally as a person. You might be very good, a good liar, a good storyteller, you know, also. You might have a lot of friends, or you might be very good with your hands, you might be a very good gardener or cook, or you might be a very helpful person, or you might be just very good with just the one animal that is like your favorite animal. So you're very good with dogs and cats, or you just know what to do when the time comes, or you just have a very savvy nature with money or resources. Please understand where it's like this. And try to really aim for those specific traits and dreams and self-representation so that you don't forget yourself. And that you don't plow in the wrong field or plant the wrong crops. Okay, so please make sure that you're planting right and in time as well. And by April also, we need to very much be safe and know the program. Know your program. Okay, so for example, you are safe within your shop and you love selling things. That's fantastic. Did you see yourself grow through it? Did Rat entertain you during this time? Yet again, like, question yourself, did this really bring you joy and peace and pleasure? Because Rat was also about that. And if that is going well, continue. But also keep your mind open, you know. So, you know, all of this, basically a lot of this has to go, especially as people are starting to understand, beginning to see that things are getting boring and things are not hopeful. And also by May, we must realize ourselves and understand on some spectrum, on some level, where we didn't actually really want to be, but we designed to do it because we thought, you know, life, I need a job, or like I need success in my life, or like my mother would like this, or like this would work out well in the end. Please understand where you didn't actually really want to seed any seeds, but you felt it would be practical to do so. And also by May, we have to really come to a big time change if we don't want it. Like, you don't want it, but you've got it. It's gonna embed probably for the rest of your life. This is where people have dead-end jobs, okay, please. And also dead-end partnerships, dead-end locations, dead-end houses, everything. You know, did you really want this? May also shows us a very big shower of energy that is going to eventually evaporate a lot of what we have already. And I also feel that this is already happening. I'm seeing this phenomenon happen. One thing stays, everything else fades away. So it erodes. So the erosion of the previous worlds or other distractions. So if you're very tunnel visioned with a job that you hate to do, wake up, because it's gonna continue, and it's gonna embed for probably quite a few years, which is hard to see. And then by May also we have got to recognize the way that we are not going to do things and be open about that and hopeful for that. Like, there's no way I'm going to do this again, or like, wow, that was a mistake. And be hopeful, because a mistake is going to give you more. Knowing that it is one is going to give you everything. Understanding your own futility or understanding your own inability or vulnerability is going to help you, or lack of insight is going to help you. So yeah, by May 2021 we've got to understand. Not gonna do, it's not gonna do. And then by August already, you know, as we go through June, July, and we have unraveling of these themes. By August we've got it. And the way that the ox is gonna take it into consideration, you know, in Leo, is gonna jam it shut. Okay, here we are, and now you have a website and a shop, and that's all you're doing, okay? Or like, now you have a beautiful relationship and it's really hard to change. Or like, this is your journey. This is your journey now. And the thing here is that we have to stop trying so hard to navigate otherwise. And sometimes people become very selfish and angry because they know that there is a shutting out and a shutting in, as well as a conservative, confusing for some people, segregation into a certain field. So that's where we specialize. We're special in a certain way. It's like, now you have this house and garden. Okay, happy? You know, or now this person is going to be probably very safe and always there for you. Happy? So the sealing off. The deal is done, and we've got to be able to do a happy dance, even though we might not feel happy, because no soul on this planet feels joy for knowing a certainty. Inside there is something gone or missing when we know that that's it. Like, that's the end of the road. That's the limit. So the limits are going to be set. We're going to all be kind of in a way divided into different people or presences or groups or organizations. So the walls between people, or the way, I'm talking also Saturn, Jupiter here in Aquarius, the way that people see the world, the way that people see you, who you are, what you're doing, what you represent, how you present, all of this is going to become a rigid grid. And I also trust that here we have to be very careful as to what that is that we are perfecting, or what we are subordinate to, or who we are becoming through anything from belief system to religion to money to travel to change to love to sex to fun to joy to anything that we are undertaking in August. And also by the end of the year 2021, we've got to understand this is a cell. So this is a very rigid way, and some of us cannot move out or past a certain state. And it's not going to be easy to change, okay? October comes and we've got many things going on in our minds. And I also think that that's where Ox is really joyful and fun, should we be on the right track. Because that's where you will see who you are as a creator, creatress, through that which you know how to mindfully generate, or generate through the mind. So if you want to talk a lot, say for example you have a child and you're so happy about how they're doing, their progress, and you're thinking about all those amazing colorful ways they can express themselves, that's a huge mastery for you. You know, if you are painting and suddenly you have 3 or 4 canvases of completely unusual styles and genres of painting, art, you're trying sculpture, you're trying something else. Now that's where the huge collaborator comes across. If you've got it in you to really skate on the surface of life and evolve yourself through these conceptualizations of greater and greater being, or greater and greater sense of trust and joy in your world, that's a fantastic thing. But here sometimes for some, mind is crazy. Wars are possible here, conflicts globally are very likely in October, even in May, because there's this very, very interesting wild one that comes in, and usually if people are not evolving the right world, their mind will go crazy. So for example, you evolved through Netflix. Okay, oh my god, this one and this one, I want to record this one, then watch it later, then I'm going to watch this series, and then I'm going to talk about this online, and then I'm going to go and research this actor here, and I'm going to... So all of this whirlwind is still going to happen, but the game that you're playing is important, so some people can have quadruple, triple worth in what they're doing and what they are fixative with, or what they represent. So if you represent the world of the nerds, this is where nerds are going to really go to town, evolving completely new ways of being a nerd, or evolving brand new ways of trying to see it all at once. And so I'm telling you about addiction. If you've chosen addiction and rat, and you are self-medicating through fetish or addiction or collection or anything like that, which is nothing wrong with it, it's just a futile pursuit, a futile time, but it's okay. Many of those that have chosen collections and collecting people, collecting things, and experiencing fun through that, and some futility, of course, you're probably going to really elaborate on that and become the best. So this is where you get the best collector, the most savvy Christian, or the highest quantum Buddhist, during October month. You might see, everybody come out of the surface as a specialist, and there's a lot of I am. There was a dilution of ego mostly through rat, and part of rat was just to stay safe and be available to open up the mind and help each other, and oneself see a lot. But because of that sort of dilution, sometimes ox will double, triple, quadruple the ego state. So what I'm seeing for a lot of people, they're going to start to grow so much, they're going to evolve their ego too. And by October's end, there's going to be many, many bickering hearts, saying, I am the greatest. I'm the greatest employee. I'm the greatest guru of language. I'm the greatest shaman. I'm the greatest, trinket collector, whatever. So that kind of madness that sends a person into compulsive behavior is very much seen, and by May already we'll start to see some of it. I am, look at me, I'm so big, I wrote a book, look at me, I'm so big, I made a home, look at me. And then by the end of October, there's going to be no end to it. So for example, if you've gotten yourself into mechanical energy, because golden ox is going to be a bit mechanical for some, and you don't want to stop, you don't want to refine yourself anymore, there's going to be a very big mystery as to how to solve it later in time. So that's where people get obsessive compulsive for sure. And then by December already 2021, it's going to have to end certain things, and this is where you have to be very, very specific, because an ox will elevate you on a platform or pedestal of some sorts, but other things may not be able to be. So for example, you'll say, I'm an avid traveler, I will travel all my life, I will not do anything but travel. At the same time, that fixation or that fixative behavior or that opportunity, as golden and beautiful as it will be, it'll cut out other opportunities, like for example cultivating, farming, having your own land, having your own support system, having a group of friends, and many of us are already experiencing this kind of interesting way that nature is tricking us into self-surfacing or becoming very open to this one thing or this one way of life, while also all these others are closing down. So I'll probably be asking you now already, to see where you have managed yourself to get in life, and where you are trying to go, and also is it potentially debilitating certain other things, certain other waves, certain other wave spells. So definitely it's good to be in moderation here, but because of the way that society is, because of the grid, there are going to be some people that would choose fame, would choose success, would choose that pinnacle or that pedestal of life over other things. So that's where we have to be very careful, because Ox is going to give us a lot of opportunity, for some people to raise up to that standard or to think they want to. Ego is going to grow. I think there's going to be a lot of people crying if they don't get a result, crying if they're not seen, or if their business is not getting enough transmission with other people. So like there are going to be lots of us, I think, really tested and tried by that which we are and which we thought we wanted to be. But I want to be a teacher, but I want to be a big psychologist, but I want to be this. I want everyone to see my artwork. I want everyone to know me. So like that stuff has got to be understood as something that can, on a level, in a natural sense, become a huge debilitation. So yes, it's possible. Ox can make you pedestaled, and probably in some unusual ways. There's very unusual ways in which businesses and specialties can grow during this time, but at the same time kind of asking you, did you really want to like seed the only one thing in your garden? Did you want to only be that one person? Did you really feel like you could give your life away for a certain cause and effect? So definitely good not to sign up now, and to understand also where you've been signing up previously, to the previous also generations in your family and previous ways in which you have been have you been obsessing, have you been self-obsessing, have you been maybe for many years smoking too much ganja or doing coke, have you been obsessing about your home or your family life, have you been only thinking about one thing? And try to turn it off, because by the end of 2021, actually by the end of Ox, as we get into March 2022, that's not very easy, because there is like an ugliness, this ugliness to it. Even if you are the best yoga teacher in the world, there is something grotesque about it, and it's really not easy to see. And it's not easy to see you, even if you might be very successful and very open and very creative, caring person, curious person. If you have specialized so much, and if you put yourself into such a box or into such a sham, for some people also, that it is very interesting for you not to be that person, but you can't come out, So this is also where people have anxiety that they cannot stop, depression they cannot get rid of, addiction they cannot imagine being without, a person they cannot look past, a place they will never leave, all of this type of imprisonment by your own wishes and your own command or your own demand for soul velocity, for energy, your demand to feel more important and more proud of yourself. That demand might have a very thick irony laced through it by the end. So definitely, as you're choosing homes, also your family line expands or diminishes, during this year, 2021. If you have chosen anything already, please understand that you've got to know how you're going to deal with it. If you are riding like a dark horse as well, for example, if you obsessed with YouTube, if you are doing nothing but Bitcoin deals, everything like that. If you are working with the shadow also, if you writing all day, every day, you don't get any sleep, if you feel stressed out, if you're stressing yourself out over nothing, understand that there are certain patterns that are not going to evolve, but separate you. And here's when later in life we have that type of person. It's the person that sits on the side of the street, the person, that never changes, the person that nags, the person that bothers, the person whose specialty is being difficult, the person whose specialty is being a narcissist, or the person whose specialty or their face or their humor is channeled through consumer goods and things like that. So all of these labels, tags, and stereotypes are going to be very vastly known and seen already, but they're going to be filled out, all these cultures, all these neutralities that become grotesque by the end of Ox in 2022. So we've got to be very, very specific, I believe, and very kind to ourselves and our souls as to what we are involving in and how we're going to work out of any kind of box that we've already been given, that we maybe already been born into, or we have become through age, the political mind, the skeptical thinker, the workaholic, you know, the do-gooder, you know, the obsessor, everything like that. All of these stories are going to get very strong by 2022. So as we go into Tiger, understand that's your mascot. That's your mascot self. Understand it's very difficult at that point to shed your reputation or the way that community or timelines that people have put you. So definitely during arcs, especially actually now as we're in the end of Red, if you have any obsessive edge, if you are doing anything too good to be true as well, if you are part of anything, please understand the less you are committal and the more light and space you allow, the better. So thank you very much. It's been a long video, it's been a long time. Okay, also if you want to know more about me, if you want to get readings, everything like that, everything is in the section below, in the captions section below. And also if you want to purchase an almanac for 2021, please have a look, though they'll be at a big discount as the year progresses. Thank you very much, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.